I was about to like get up and change my shirt and like make it seem like maybe these were filmed on different days, but nope, I've been sitting in this chair forever. Welcome to my channel. My name is Andrew. We're gonna keep this train going and we're gonna talk about 5 more books that I have read this year. The next book that I read was Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This one was like a 4.5, but maybe more of like a 4, mostly because of the ending. The ending, I wanted to read this because it was part of the Late Night Book Club's monthly book picks, and I'm gonna leave that linked in the description. And it was definitely a good book, especially the first half. I definitely enjoyed the first half. I would say I enjoyed the first like 80% was like gonna be a 5-star. And then that last 20 to 30-ish% was just so confusing. Like it was just so like, but why did we go from, and to be honest with you, like I don't even really know at this point, like who was the killer? That, like it's definitely more of like a 4-star at this point because of the ending. But I will be reading the 2 other books by Tiffany Jackson. I know she has a book about like rap, I think. Let Me Hear a Rhyme. Definitely gonna read that. I already own Monday's Not Coming, which I feel like people discuss that plot twist, like has them shook. So I'm looking forward to getting shook. As far as Grown is concerned, this is a book about Enchanted, fun name. She is trying to become a famous singer, and she meets this like really, what's the word? Prolific, is that the word? Singer who just like is so big and famous and has a lot of power and a lot of people in his corner. And this was a very important book about people, like it's not about the people in the power, it's about the people surrounding. He's crazy, super possessive. He does crazy things. He locks her in the bathroom. Like she cannot even like, he like puts a bucket in the bathroom for her to pee, like doesn't give her water. Like it's so horrifying. This is definitely like a thriller for sure, because at the beginning of the book, you know that like his name's Corey Fields in the book, and you know he's dead. You know he's dead from the very beginning of the book. Like it's in the synopsis that he's dead. And you go back in time to like see Enchanted meeting him and like all that stuff, which I actually think that's a very, like, it's just good. Like that's a good way to start a book because you just want to get to 0. You know what I mean? Just like every episode of How to Get Away with Murder starts with like a murder and goes backwards. Like I need to read more thrillers like that because, and like ones that have less convoluted, confusing endings for sure, because this was so good up until that point. Like easily could have been a 5-star book if the ending had just not been so convoluted. This book very much like reminds me of that quote that's like the only way for evil to exist is for good people to like stand by and do nothing. That's like the whole theme of this book. So if that intrigues you, I would definitely recommend it. The audiobook is good. Definitely recommend it for sure. Next, we have some graphic novels. I'm gonna group these together. They're the Fence graphic novels, which the art in these graphic novels is so beautiful. I don't know like who illustrated them. Well, I just found out because I just read it on Goodreads. Johanna the Mod. I need to listen. I wanted to see what else they had illustrated, but it's just the Fence graphic novels. So clearly they need to illustrate way more because they're so beautiful. But in addition to the illustrations, the story itself is about, I can't remember his name. What is his name? Nicholas. You're following Nicholas as he's going to like a new fencing school, and like I think was it his dad? Someone in his family, I think, is like obsessed with fencing, like trained him how to do all kinds of like fencing type things. But then there's like this new kid on the block, or like, no, he's the new kid. He's going to this school. But then there's also a new kid, Seiji, who's like really good at fencing and has done fencing like his whole entire life. Like I personally don't really care about anything sports or like fencing or whatever, but it is gay. So I showed up. And I need to keep reading these because they're really good. And you've got characters that are just like being so cocky, and there's so many different types of characters. Like we have lots of diversity. I'm just gonna tell you they're good. And if you like beautiful art and beautiful stories and gay folks in your stories, then you should definitely read these. And you like graphic novels. I know graphic novels aren't like everybody's favorite type of like book, but I mean, I don't know if I could call it a book. It's a graphic novel, but definitely recommend. And if you have Scribd, they are on Scribd, part of your subscription. All right, Then we're going to talk about the most hyped book I read. Like, it is so hyped. Like, it is so hyped. To me, I don't, we all travel in different circles on the internet, but it was easily the most hyped book, and it's still getting hyped. Everybody I know is giving it 5 stars. Like, it is ridiculous. The House in the Cerulean Sea. I gave this 5 stars at first, but I think it's more of like a 4-star for me but why? I felt that 5-star feeling the whole book, so maybe it is really a 5-star. I don't know. I'll probably read it again. I did listen to it on audiobook, and there was a lot of like over-exaggerated narration I feel like wouldn't have been totally necessary, but I still enjoyed the audiobook. So I love the message of this book. I love I did really enjoy some of the plot twists at the end, and I loved all the magical children. Okay, I didn't tell you what this is about. This is a book about a house in the Cerulean Sea. You start off the story learning about Linus Baker. He works for a government entity, and he gets a call from extremely upper management because he's like really, really good at his job. And then he's like, hey, like there's these magical children, and they are like really, really bad, or like we think they're bad, so we need you to go investigate. So he goes to investigate. There's a queer romance. There's lots of children. There's like sprites. There's lots of like little magical creatures. They don't ever explain the magic. I know that like that's a thing for some people that didn't enjoy it. That's not why I didn't want to give it 5. I did give it 5 stars. I'm going to have to reread it because like I'm somewhere between 4 and 5. Like it was really, really, really good. I think just like the hype just, I don't want to say it ruined for me because like it was still really good. But yeah, no, I mean, this like is so hyped. I'm sorry, I keep saying that, but like I just need you to know that for me personally, it was so insanely hyped. Like, but I did actually gasp dog ear some pages because I did really like, there was one specific line that this probably is a 5-star book. I'm sorry. Like this one line, I think Sal's my favorite actually. I know Lucy is like everybody's favorite character. Everybody loves Lucy, but I almost feel like you're supposed to love Lucy, and I don't want to love who you're like trying to force me to love. I want to love, like, I love all the characters, okay? Like, all the little gnome, like they're all cute and they're all a little fun, but I think Sal's the one that he goes into like his room, and I love Sal. But this line really sold me on Sal when he says, I am but paper, brittle and thin. I'm held up to the sun and it shines through me. I get written on and I can never be used again. These scratches are history. They're a story. They tell things for others to read, but they only see the words and not what the words are written upon. I am but paper. And though there are many like me, none are exactly the same. I am parchment. I have lines. I have holes. Get me wet and I melt. Light me on fire and I burn. Take me in hardened hands and I crumple. I tear. I am but paper, brittle and thin. Yeah, this is a 5-star book. I'm stupid. I'm just being annoying. Like, this is a 5-star book. Like, this is a 5-star book. And this is blurred by Shauna McGuire, who I haven't read any of her books, but stay tuned because I plan to read all of them. Definitely reading Every Heart a Doorway. So, because like, and I feel like this has similar, because like the Wayward Children series, Every Heart a Doorway, like has like magical children, and that's this in one book. So I definitely want to read The Extraordinaries because it talks about fandom, which I think I just said in my previous video, or my last recent reads I talked about fandom. So I definitely want to read The Extraordinaries, and I definitely want to read Wolf Song because it's like Twilight but vampires and gay. So we'll definitely be reading. I'm actually the most excited for Wolf Song. Like, I'm the most excited for Wolf Song. If you haven't read this already, or like, I know you've at least heard of it. If you're hanging out in the same circles as me, you've definitely heard of it. But, if that line spoke to you, I would highly recommend this book for sure. Let's move on. All right, next, I do have a physical copy of it, but I put it in my unhaul pile. Shadow and Bone. Ooh! I know this is getting so much hype lately, and so many people have like read it because the show came out, including me. Like, I read it because the show was coming out, and I gave it 5 stars. So the fact that I just said it's in my unhaul pile, but I gave the first book 5 stars, I think that already tells you my opinion on the series. I loved Shadow and Bone, just like the individual book. Shadow and Bone was 5 stars. I thought I was going to give it like 3 or 4, and I loved it. I loved the dynamic with the Darkling and Alina, and her being the Sun Summoner, and her going to the palace, and like just all of like the angst. Like, it was so good. The plot twist at the end of Shadow and Bone, like, if you haven't seen the show and you haven't read the books, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure that, like, the show so far, as far as, like, because it mixes Six of Crows, which I have read, and you'll all see my opinion on that, and it is definitely not a popular one. So Shadow and Bone, the show just covers, like, the first book. And I love the show because it follows just the first book, and I love the first book. And I feel like they're probably going to be loyal to the books as far as the Shadow and Bone trilogy is concerned because of how they handled the first season. I really enjoyed the plot twist at the end because I love plot. Okay, like, I love plot, and I was like getting whiplash at the end of that book. I was like, wait, who? Wait, what? Wait, how? Wait, when? Wait, huh? And it was so satisfying to see that on television, like specific things that happened at the end of book 1. It was so satisfying. So like Shadow and Bone, like the book, just the book itself, 5 stars. So you'll see my thoughts on future books in future videos because we're just talking about 5. And the next book I read was not Siege and Storm. The next book I read was Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Now, I did give this 4 stars, and I like read the graphic novel for this. I read it like in one sitting. It's a graphic novel. Like, they're so easy to get through. And I don't really remember much about it. I just know it's about him going down an elevator, seeing lots of different people. And I kind of like feel like I finished this and felt, I can't remember what happens, to be honest with you. And I feel like that's not a good sign. Like, I don't exactly remember if he does or doesn't. Like, because he wanted to go shoot. I'm kind of gonna rate it. I gave it 4 stars, so I must have enjoyed it at least a little bit. But like, the art was really good, and I just can't remember what happens. Like, honestly, I just remember him going down the elevator and meeting all those people. And I feel like maybe we don't actually get an answer to like what happens when he gets out of the elevator. And I don't mind like some open threads at the end of my stories when you just like end the story with no answers like at all to any questions. Like, I don't like that. And there was only one like major moving plot point here, and like it was definitely clear that like he was supposed to like take something from each person that he met in the elevator, obviously, but I don't remember if he, so that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I just don't remember, and I feel like me not remembering is like whatever. And maybe me and Jason Reynolds just unfortunately don't click because I feel like he had a short story in Black Enough, which I also read earlier this year, and I didn't really connect with that either. I did read some reviews about like the point of the story and like why he wrote it, so I kind of understand it a little bit more. It was the one about like sandwiches or something, but that's like 2 different Jason Reynolds that I've like kind of read, so I don't know. I would be willing to try some of his other books still, but you know, I just can't remember what happens at the end, so I'm not sure I mean, I gave this 4 stars, but maybe it should have been a little bit lower rated. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna like lie. Hello, it's Editing Andrew, and to be honest with you, I'm actually so excited to have a trash clip of myself in one of my videos clarifying on something I said. I love seeing it in YouTube videos, so here's the real me. Anyways, I just want to clarify, I'm going to spoil the end of this story in this clip because I had unhauled the graphic novel from my possession, but I was able to go to the store and like I went to the bookstore and it was driving me crazy. I wanted to know how it ended. So I did go to the end of the graphic novel in the bookstore. So skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled to where I look normal again. But just to be clear, it does end in a way that you do not know if he does or does not go on to shoot somebody. So I personally don't like that in my stories. I would have liked to know what he did or did not do after all of the experiences in the elevator. Because it's just a personal preference. Like, I would rather it be more clear the intention of the story, personally. I mean, I think you can still discuss the story. You can still say what you want to say. You can leave your endings open as an author, obviously. But it's just a personal preference for me that I would rather. I feel like I wasted my time with an open ending. I feel like I wasted my time. Unfortunately, that is how we are going to end this video. Definitely stay tuned for who's coming up next. Who are we going to see next? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I honestly am shocked at how many books I have read this year. Like it's all because of audiobooks, to be honest with you. Like audiobooks, they're life-changing. I would love to know like what you're reading. Go ahead, leave it in the comments. I'm gonna leave my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, all that in the description as well. Love to hear from you. Love for you to subscribe. Have a great day. Bye.